Hi, my name is Christina DerHagopian, and I'm a senior line producer over at Little Dot Studios. Line producer is mainly responsible for budgeting and managing all the logistics of a production. I'm going to give you some basic tips on how to budget your project. Budgeting will give you a blueprint and help inform the costs associated with pre-production, production, and post-production. Professionals use a lot of different types of budgeting software. If you don't have access to that, you can just use a simple spreadsheet on your computer. The first question to answer is figure out if you have a budget number in mind or if you're trying to work backwards and basically just budget out the script that you have as written. There are many different types of productions that you can approach. Union versus non-union, traditional high budget versus run and gun micro budget. The most important thing is to figure out what kind of a production yours is going to be. The next thing to do is make a script breakdown. Script breakdown is where you review all the needs of your production. Read the script, figure out how many pages you want to film per day, how many locations you want to film in, how many talent days, what kind of props you need to account for. Build a preliminary schedule. It doesn't have to be exact, it's just a basic schedule that's just going to determine how many shoot days, how many hours per day, which will tell you how many days you need at a location, how many days you need for talent, what kind of transportation needs you need. Basically determine what's essential and what you can eliminate. Budgeting is about making decisions. Establish your non-negotiables and your high-cost items. Sometimes a lot of your costs are going to be living in your locations, or you might have to pay a really high-profile talent. Figure out which one of those are removable and work around them. If you're going to need permits, if you're going to need payroll, if you're going to need insurance is a really important thing to identify early on. Determine your core crew. How many crew members do you need to efficiently make your day? You don't want to overextend your crew by not hiring enough, and you don't want a bunch of people just standing around not doing anything. Figure out the rest of your hard costs, like what to pay people and what kind of cameras you're going to film on, what kind of gear you need additionally, props, wardrobe, catering. Does your location work logistically? Does it have bathrooms? Is there enough power? Do you maybe need to bring in another generator? Do you need parking? Does it have enough room to house all the production crew that you need? Most importantly, never compromise on safety. You don't want to overextend your crew. You don't want to make them work late hours without a good turnaround time. These are all important things to consider before you build your budget. Budgeting may not seem creative, but a lot of times you have to find creative solutions to make the budget work. Understanding that you may need to give a little bit in some areas and borrow from others. For example, you may need to film out of order in order to make most efficient use of your locations, or front end shoot a lot of a talent's days in order to not overextend their pay. You may need to find a DP who has their own gear. Can someone loan you a location? Can you cut the length? Can you cut the number of locations? Can you cut the number of talent? Can you maybe do without some extras in a film? All these things really help you pare down your budget needs. Budgeting is about forecasting. You'll need a built-in contingency in your budget in case emergencies come up, and they will. Your preliminary budget is never going to be your final budget, but you need to think ahead about certain issues that may arise that may add cost to your final budget. So you need to include a little bit of padding in there in case emergencies come up. You lose a location, talent drops out, DP gets sick, etc. Other costs to consider are pre-production. Are your pre-production costs and development costs going to be included in your production budget? Are you also going to include your post-production? What kind of editing do you need? Do you need VFX? Do you need color correction? Do you need audio mixing? These are all things to consider ahead of time. When in doubt, ask. It may be incredibly cliche, but if you don't know something, just ask for it. Most gear vendors, equipment vendors, studios, they will tell you what their goods cost and how often you can rent them for. And sometimes they'll even provide discounts if you're filming over a weekend or longer for a week shoot. Ask people what their rates are. A good way of finding out what people's going rates are is just to ask them. Ask department heads what their budgets look like. Maybe ask somebody to go over what your script looks like and ask them to see, what is something like this going to cost? What do you typically need for props? What do you need for set dressing? What do you need for wardrobe? Budgeting is just like any other muscle. You need to keep exercising it to get proficient at it. Practice, practice, practice. Ask for creative from your friends or other producers and build those budgets. Ask the questions that you need to ask. Finally, ask other producers what their budgets look like. Ask if you can see a budget compared to a script or a piece of creative. Ask them what they would have done differently, what they have learned from, what was the good, bad, and the ugly. You will not always get it right, but working hard on it over and over again will help you become more proficient at it. I hope this video helps you visualize your project in a more tangible way. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below.